I've come to make an announcement. This video is not strictly made for kids. It's for older fans and seniors too. So leave comments alone, you son of a...
They're 2, they're 4, they're 6, they're 8. Shunting, roll, stacking, hauling freight. Red, green, purple, yellow, orange, brown, blue. They're the really useful crew. Always different roles to play. Round the west of the island or far away. Down the hills and round the bends. Thomas, Sam, and friends. Thomas, Adam, and friends.
Nothing beats a Thailand holiday, and right now you can save up to £50 per Thomas fan. Alright, let me give you some context. For the 80th anniversary of the books, Sir Handel, Rusty, and Fred went to Wales for the Railway Series weekend and stayed as special guests for most of the summer until the 5th and final Audrey extravaganza, with Duke, Mike, and a couple more residents and special guests from Sodor joining them, along with ex-MSR engines Albert and Gary. Everyone had a grand time. Well...
2 years in a row, everybody. I think the cars won. If you put that in the comments saying that's what would happen, you are correct. Go Team Car.
The Scarlowy Railway also held their additional Wales event a few days after, which the 4 Thailand attendees respectfully didn't take part of from their exhaustion. It had been about a month and a fortnight since the celebrations ended, and life returned to normal. One afternoon, Ben Glass and Fred were dropping off crew members of the maintenance train at Lakeside that clocked out of their morning shift when Renius came with a passenger train. The people disembarked the coaches and went to have some lunch at Neptune Refreshments and also ride up and down the Funicular Railway. The 3 engines began to chat with one another.
You guys excited for the visit of King Charles?
I sure am. Can't wait to see him visit the island for the 3rd anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's passing, eh? May God still rest her soul. The king is going to make a speech at Ofsted, and then Duke and Peter Sam will escort him from the castle to here at Lakeside, where he'll stay in one of the hotels for the night before going back the next day.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Peter Sam pulled the royal train when the Queen was coronated in '53, along with a Platinum Jubilee reenactment in 2022, right?
You'd be right about that, Ben. And also, from what I heard, about a week later, the king's gonna get a visit of his own from a certain orange wall builder in America.
Oh, no!
Hey, I know it's irrelevant, but remember that one time I got revenge on that passenger with my rotatable exhaust? For the last time, I can't go any faster. Sorry I inconvenienced you so much, but my top speed is only 9 miles an hour.
Lies, and more lies. I'd expect this from Scarlowy, not someone like you in their early 30s. I'm going straight to Mr. Percival and telling him how much of a snail you are.
Go ahead. He's just gonna tell you the same thing. You know what? No. I'm sick of you constantly berating me for something I can't control. I may not be the fastest, but I have a special superpower within.
Really? What is it?
This! May the power of my exhaust compel you. Take that! Even though I got in trouble and 2 wrongs don't make a right, I definitely showed him, along with Max and Tim at the extravaganza, why not to mess with me. But going slow might just be another occasional pet peeve, other than people assuming my laziness.
During the conversation, Ben grew curious about something.
Hey Renius, I have a question. Before Sir Handel, Peter Sam and Proteus came, between the 1860s and 1950s, were there any other engines besides you and Scarlowy on the railway?
Oh, now that's an interesting question. Never thought you'd ask. Well, even though me brother and I ran the railway alone for nearly half our lives, there were a few other obscure narrow-gauge engines that were loaned occasionally to assist, and Renius told him about a couple different engines they acquainted for a short while. Remember how Freddy worked at the slate quarry for about 2 years after the mid-Sodor closed, until he fell off the old iron bridge?
Yeah, I do now.
There were also a few other mid-Sodor tank engines, as well as our younger cousin Walt Farquhar from the Aluminum Works.
The Aluminum Works? I thought he was part of the Wharf Museum.
He was, but before he retired there, he was the primary engine on the industrial line since it opened in 26, nearly 100 years ago, eh?
That reminds me, Ben, I have a weird question I forgot to ask you until now. At that time you misjudged the Ulfstead Museum engines. How come you disregarded the engines at the Dwarf?
Well, I don't really know, honestly. I guess at the time I just wasn't thinking about them.
Say, Rheneas, I don't remember the full story, but didn't you say there were also 2 other diesels that came here before Rusty?
Renius's face suddenly fell, and he was awkwardly trying to find his voice.
Are you alright? What's wrong?
Well, Fred, remember how those 2 were on a ship at Kirkronan Harbor?
Oh god, I'm so sorry, Rheneas. I completely forgot about—
It's okay, Fred. It's fine.
Wait, 2 other diesels before Rusty? On a ship? What do you mean?
Well, Ben, to be truthful, I purposely tried to keep them off topic for good reason. A discussion was made, and Fred and Renius agreed it was best to tell him. After all, with the 80th anniversary of the end of a certain conflict in Britain, they deserved to be remembered. It was way back in late 1939, when the world was in a real razzie. You don't even need to guess the hardships that arose in that time. So much for the Great War being described as the war to end all wars, now reclassified as the first of 2. Everyone worked the best they could, including Skarloey and Renius. But with their age catching up, they couldn't handle the war traffic by themselves. Ward Farquhar came to help out, but the 3 engines were in need of assistance. So Sir Handel Brown and Mr. Robert Sam borrowed 2 engines from the War Department. Neil, long preserved by the Crovens Gate Mining Company at the time, brought them over to the Fletcher boys.
Here you are, 2 new engines from the Trench Railways.
The 3 red engines were very surprised at their strange appearances. They had no boiler, dome, piston rods, or steam coming out, were square-shaped, and had an exhaust thingy that barely looked like the funnels they had.
Are they like a failed experiment?
Blimey, I've never seen a steam engine like them before.
That's because they are not steam engines.
Nope, me and my brothers are diesels.
They explained what diesel engines were. Oh, I see. Sorry about that. We didn't mean to offend you.
No worries, we understand. We're a brand new design. Not many people had seen us.
I bet. But anyway, what are your names?
Well, we don't actually have names, just numbers. As you can see, I'm 1945 and my brother is 1939.
Oh, great. First they show up, all new and unusual, and now they don't even have names? Next thing you'll know, they'll come out as German spies.
What?
Do you want to die or not? Because we might very well get blown to bits without their help.
I don't agree with how he said it, but Rheneas is right.
That was completely unacceptable, especially at a time like this. If you do that again, we'll send you back to the aluminum works early. Apologise at once.
Yes, sirs. Sorry.
After getting to know each other, the 2 diesels got to work helping with carrying slate, timber, metal, and other materials for damaged buildings and the mainline engines. 1939 had a tough and bold demeanor, while 1945 was slightly younger and a bit naive. But regardless, they both worked very hard and determined, and were proud to serve the SKR as well as the island as a whole. They even got to share Skarloey's haulage wagon, as their wheelbases were wide enough to ease off the Old Faithful, after he retired from using the haulage wagon from the slate trips wearing him out.
Happy 20 years of marriage, Sir Handel. Hope you and Dorothy have a great holiday to Harwick.
Thank you, 1939. Can't wait to have a lovely trip. I thank God every day for giving me such a beautiful, sweet woman. Even with the ongoing war and many other terrible things happening, there's always good in the world.
Very true, sir.
Rather bizarre how your 20th anniversary is the same year your cousin Charles is getting married.
Is it just me, or is it weird that Sir Handel's sister married the fat controller of the Northwestern Railway, aka a large competitor?
The War Brothers were a shining light for the railway through the many hardships going on at the time. Unfortunately, after about 5 years of hard work, the War Department needed them back home during the final months of battle, and sadly, their lease came to an end. Neil took them to the Kirkronan Harbor to be brought back to the mainland, and took Skarloey on his haulage wagon with them to say goodbye and watch them off.
You 2 have done an outstanding job for the railway. Your inner strength and dedication is truly without compare.
Thank you, Skarloey. It's a real pleasure assisting you. It was turbulent and rough going, no mistakes, but it was worth it being with you, Neil, Fergus, Ward Farquhar, and everyone else.
And maybe if we're lucky, we'll visit you again someday.
Hopefully.
Farewell, you 2. I wish you dry rails and a safe journey back.
With that, the ship known as the Sodor Sailor left the harbor along with 1939 and 1945 in tow. However, unbeknownst to them, they would never make it to their destination from a devastating final attack.
Alright, Skarloey, let's head back to Crovin.
Up in the sky!
What the?
Oh, son of a...
Sweet Mother Victoria!
Christ and oil, brother, what's happening?
I don't know.
Look out!
No, the diesel!
We have to get out of here!
But before they could, a workman had gotten his leg stuck in the debris.
Hold on, I'm coming!
Neil, what are you doing?
Driver, get him to safety, now!
Neil rushed over to his aid, and his driver quickly got out and helped him out of there. But unfortunately, it was too late for Neil.
For my fallen sibling!
Neil, please, no!
In the aftermath of the explosions, the harbor was in a terrible state. Broken rails, twisted metal, and burnt rubble was scattered in all directions. The reason being was that apparently the enemy had mistaken the Sodor Sailor for another ship they attempted to bomb carrying large troops. Poor Skarloey had also fallen into a coma after he, and what once was his haulage wagon, had been hit by a small artillery shell. But thankfully, he had only suffered minor damage and was swiftly recovered. Even with the war coming to an end the following year, a hard recovery with deep scars lay ahead. To make matters worse, Skarloey was taken out of service after his boiler and firebox were decommissioned, along with other leftover damage from the bombing. Eventually though, a couple years later, he proved himself after triumphantly getting his passengers home and was sent to be fully overhauled.
What about Neil and the two diesels? What happened to them?
Well, Fred, if I was someone just learning about the bombing of the Kirkronan Harbor, I'd say their chances of living are sadly none. During his heroic actions, Neil had been caught in the explosion, but unlike Skarloey, was beyond repair and disposed of when the wreckage of the harbor was cleared away. But the sacrifice saved the lives of his driver and workmen, and he was later honored in the SKR Centennial Book. But as for 1939 and 1945, they had suffered the worst of it. Neil had an easy fate compared to them. Both diesels were thrown off the ship and drowned within the briny blue. After the harbor cleanup, apart from the steamer service to Dublin, Ireland, rail access was abandoned, including the once brave and honorable diesels, now decimated to oceanic corpses. There they lay in the many decades that followed. Their souls were out of misery, but their physical states were eaten up by rust and aquatic life as discarded pieces of war history. That was, until nearly 50 years later, when the Kirkronan Harbor and branch line were reopened, with the addition of a new terminal station in the town. To this day, the oldest harbor on Sodor is still in good service, as a supplement to the port at Tidmouth. A small fraction in the outskirts of the harbor was even made into a diving resort, where people could put on their scuba gear and pay a visit to the two narrow-gauge war diesels. When they, along with the Sodor Sailor, were rediscovered during restoration of the harbor, the conclusion was made for the best to leave them where they were, in their final resting place below the Kirkronan waters. Whether or not it was the right decision is debatable, but regardless, their fate was not in vain, and they are marked to this day as two of the most courageous engines in their time, and their legacies were never forgotten. Out of all the engines briefly loaned before the main cast, I think those two are some of the most impactful. Diesel might have been the first main diesel on the island, but he'll never be able to compete with those from the War Department. I hope they're still in a better place. The two diesels and steam engine remained quiet for a long time, until the guard blew a whistle and Renius had to leave.